Happy Motoring comes alongside as just to head back. Down on the rail and holding third is Tijuana Taxi. Here comes Son Sam, wheeling 3 wide and going right up to join him. Son Sam on the far outside.
Hello, it's Bob Pandolfo. It's Thursday, February 1st, 2024. Welcome to Power Brush with Pandy. And I'm talking a little bit about harness handicapping, and this kind of applies to handicapping, really, thoroughbreds or harness racing in certain ways. But I'm going to talk a little bit about my Meadowlands selections that appear on the United States Trotting Association website. I'll put the link below in case any of you have never seen that. So last week I had 9 winners on top total for the 2 nights, and 5 of them paid good prices, double digits. So I wanted to show some things on my selections. So now that particular night, on Friday night, the 26th of January, I had the last 3 races. I had the winner on top, and they paid good prices. You can see here, Billville Cara paid $12.20, and then I had Mount Royal at $20.40, and Fix It Up at $10.60 to tap, for the last 3 races of the night. I had 4 winners total on the card on top, I'm talking about. Now, if you look at my selections, sometimes, most of the time I give comments. I give more comments on Saturday night. These particular races, these last 3 races, I didn't give any comments. But now I give my own line. Now, this is not the morning line. I have my own line, and I base it on, first of all, it's for my top 4 contenders. And I base it on what I think each horse's chances of winning the race are. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you an idea, not only who I think is going to be, in the race or have a chance to, get an exacta and trifecta and horses you can use and, pick 4s and races and things like that. But I'm also trying to give you an idea of what the race looks like as far as, how competitive it is. So you see in the 12th race, I made 2 horses 5-1 and then a horse 6-1, 10-1. So what does that tell you? Well, you can see right away, I think it's a wide open race, right? So that's why I'm not picking a low price. That's one of the reasons. Because, I know it's a wide open race. This is not a good race then to bet the favorite. So, if you look at the race, the favorite was the 6 horse, Mayor of the City, went off at 2-1. I picked her second at 5-1. So I'm telling you, basically, not a real good favorite. Because first of all, she was a real good favorite. I would have had the odds. I would have had her at 2-1. I made her 5-1, and I picked against her. I picked the horse Billville Cara, who went wire to wire pretty easily and paid $12.20. 10 horse finished second. So again, now let's go to the next race. Now in the 13th race, I have 2 horses 4-1, 5-1, and I have 9-1. Again, I didn't make any of these the favorite. So you look at the race 13, and you can see now the horse that I picked, who I made 4-1, was an overlay according to my line, and went wire to wire. Well, it didn't go wire to wire, but got a good trip and sat close up and won and paid $20.40. Breyer's Desire, a long shot, got in second. So the favorite was Lincoln Boulevard, who was bet down to 7-5. And I made that horse 5-1 and put that horse third. So again, if you were at the track and you see the horses going off 7-5 and you looked at my selections, you would say, Pandy put the horse third and made it 5-1, so he doesn't think the horse really, looks that outstanding, right? That's what I'm saying. That's what these odds are saying. And as you can see, the 1 horse was an overlay on my line. So that's good value. So, and that's what I'm trying to do. I knew coming in as I'm handicapping these races, there's no, these are wide open races. There's no standout. So naturally, I don't want to pick a low price. I want to try to give you value, right? I mean, this is the mindset of a public handicapper. With me anyway, and I think some other public handicappers have the same mindset. Our job is to help you, do okay if you're betting, right? So we're trying, I'm not going to try to steer you onto bad favorites. So now you get to the last race, and this horse won and paid $10.60, Fix It Up, and I made Fix It Up 5-1. Again, 5-1, 5-1, 6-1, 8-1. This is kind of unusual to have 3 races in a row where I don't have any horse really identified as a favorite. But there were 3 wide open races. In Friday night's cards at the Meadowlands, out of the 2 cards, they have Friday and Saturday, they race 14 races each night. Out of the 2 cards, usually the Friday card is the weaker card in terms of the quality of the horses. In other words, the better class horses race Saturday night. And that's a lot of tracks are like that. Usually the better class horses will race Saturday night. But the thing is that, Friday, it can be a good betting card because, wide open races are good. You don't get favorites. But it's a puzzle. I mean, the races are intricate to handicap. And let's see, it would fix it up. It came out 9-3-8, and I picked 9-3. So you could see again that the favorite, again, it was David Miller. David Miller was the best driver there last Friday. So out of all the top name drivers, they're not there yet. It's the winter, so Tim Tetrick isn't driving here yet, and Yannick Gingras wasn't here that night, and so David Miller was the biggest name driver. So he was getting bet. And he did good, but some of the horses he was on were over bet. And this horse, as you can see, was 6-5, and I made the horse 5-1. And fix it up. I made 5-1. He went off 4-1. So and he won. And I had a few good prices again on. I had 5 winners on Top Saturday night, and 2 of them paid really good prices too. Same type of thing, competitive racing. So. My mindset coming into these races is that, I want to pick winners. I'm not going to say I don't want to pick winners. I want to pick as many winners as I can, but I'm not going to put the horse on top every time that I think has the best chance of winning. Because, I'm going to think about the odds, about the race and how competitive the race is. Now, in the first race, all right, well, this horse was scratched, so that's kind of a moot point there. But in the second race, you can see this is my best bet. And in this race, I made the horse a favorite and my best bet. And you can see that, the odds are different. I have 2-1, 5-2, 6-1, 6-1. So, in that race, I'm trying to tell you that I don't think it's as competitive, right? Turns out the horse went off at 340. Again, David Miller got bet heavy, but there was a scratch. So that's the reason why my odds were off, because one of the horses was scratched, which knocked the odds down. So if I think the favorite's legit and I think it's probably going to win, I'm going to pick it. But in the more wide open races, I'm going to take shots. And here is a horse, Watch Me Now, that I made 5-2. Even though I didn't make the horse like 2-1 or 8-5. I liked her. You could tell because there's a disparity, like the drop down, the increase in odds. I made her 5-2, and then I made the next horse 5-1. So I didn't make it that close. So what I'm trying to tell you is I kind of like Watch Me Now, and she raced well. She got shuffled though a little bit. I actually like her this Friday, tomorrow night. I put her on top. So again, I don't want to pick like one winner a night that pays $30. I want to pick winners, but I'm not. You can't as a handicapper, like as a public handicapper who's trying to help the public. You can't just always try to pick the winner. You have to look at the value of the race and try to steer people to some sort of situation where they might be able to get good value for if they're going to bet on the horses you pick. And so if I think the favorite is suspect, or even if I think the favorite's probably legit favorite but still going to be undervalued, and I think there's other horses that I think are probably worth a shot, I'm going to go for the value. As far as the kind of horses I pick, I'm not. I don't think I could be classified really as a trip handicapper. Naturally, I look at trips, I watch all the races, but I put more emphasis on speed and class. With these horses at the Meadowlands, I really know the classes of these horses. Even if they're coming from out of town, I have a pretty good idea usually. I have my own way of researching these things, and so, because that's the thing. I mean, there are certain situations where, a horse is the class of the race. I mean, if the horse has a class edge, and especially if the horse is going off the favorite, that's usually the horse you want to bet. I'm just looking down to see if there were any horses with obvious class edges. I thought Watch Me Now probably had a class edge in there. I didn't get the greatest trip though. But on this particular card, the only horse that really had a clear class edge was this J.K. Lucky Charms, who was, second off a layoff and just seemed to be in a soft spot and won easily. With the scratch, only paid like $340. The advantage of following one track, or if keying into one track. Now I'll play other tracks. I'm not saying that I don't, but the Meadowlands is a track, the harness track that I do for the public. That's the only harness track I do for the public. And for thoroughbred racing, the New York tracks, Aqueduct, Belmont, and Saratoga, I do for the public. So I know all the horses, the trainers, and everything about all the angles at those tracks, and that's an advantage because sometimes I can just look over a field and say, oh, this is the best horse. I know that horse. You know what I mean. So if you're handicapping a track where you don't normally handicap and you're not familiar with the horses, then it's more it's more of a puzzle, because now you have to look and say, all right, which one of these horses is the best? And you may have to, and it's not that easy if you don't follow the circuit to really know which horses have that inherent class. So then you're just going on the past performances totally. And whereas, these tracks that if you follow a track closely, you get to know the horses. And in the Meadowlands, of course, is a track where, with the long stretch, and it's the number one, harness track in North America by handle, per race anyway. There is a certain amount of class that you normally need to win at this track. I mean, some of these horses that come in from out of town, they're coming from tracks where the class of the horses is lower. They could still win sometimes if they get into they get lucky and get into like a spot, like a field that's particularly weak, and they work out a good trip. But a lot of horses have been racing at the Meadowlands. Like, there are many horses that race at the Meadowlands like 20 times and never won. And there are horses that have raced there like 40 times and won one race. So and actually I look at that too. I look at how the horse races over this particular track. But anyway, I just wanted to show you how to use my line. Sure, you can look to see if there's overlays, but you can also look to see what I think of the field. So if you're playing like a pick 4 and you see like a race like this, you're probably gonna you got to spread a little bit, right? Because I'm not telling you, I'm not making any horse 8-5 or anything like that. So like if I was playing pick 4s and I was looking at a handicapper's picks like this, I'd probably use the 168. Maybe I'd use the 2 also, but I'd probably say, oh, he looks like, he 168, he thinks those are the 3 main contenders, but it's a wide open race. And so I better use at least 3, you know what I mean? So same thing here. He probably would say, well, I'll use the 156. So I'm trying to give people an idea, of where the value is, who I think is going to win, my general picture, snapshot of the face of the race. So if people are playing something like a pick 4 too, I'm trying to help them out. So that's the thing too, is that I'm going to play the same way myself too. In other words, I'm going to look at my selections the same way someone else might. Once I finish the card, then those selections are there. I'm looking at them the same way as you're looking at them. And I'm trying to evaluate them. I'll look at it and say, okay, what did I do here? Oh, I made this, 5-1, 5-1, 6-1, 10-1. Yeah, that's a wide open race. And so then, and you have to bet accordingly. If you're playing something like a pick 4 in a race like that, if you just key one horse. Now, as it turned out, if you did key my 8 horse, if you singled the horse, you would have won. But But looks like a spread race. Same thing with exactas. Somebody may say, well, I'm going to box the 168 in the exacta, because he's, looks like they're all good value plays. Everybody has their own way of interpreting, how they like to bet. But as a public handicapper, and I'll tell you the truth too. I've been doing this a long time. I take it seriously. I want people. I want to give people the best chance of winning if they're following my picks. And a lot of people aren't going to bet whatever I pick. They're going to do their own handicapping, and then they're going to look at my picks to see how my picks compare with them, and see maybe if they're playing like a pick four, maybe they see one horse I picked and say, I better throw that one in. I was questionable about that one, but he put that horse on top. I'll put that one in. So hey, look, that's the public handicapper's job, is to give you an idea of who the main contenders are, who he thinks is going to win, who might be good value, and that's why we have comments too. On Saturday night, I usually have more comments, but anyway, just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight to how I think as a professional handicapper who handicaps for the public and for myself. So thanks for listening. Remember, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for listening to Power Brush, and good luck.